One of the big pieces of news recently was the sudden and tragic death of American hockey player Adam Johnson playing in a British hockey league when his throat was slashed with a hockey skate. Today on Don't Talk TV, I'm going to take a look at that and look at some laws that might apply if this happened in Canada and my view on whether this was a culpable homicide. Before we get into the video, remember, we're still trying to get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and if we do, I will regrow my handlebar mustache, so if you'd like to see that, please like, share, and subscribe. Hello, my name's Nicholas Wansbutter. I'm a lawyer in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to Don't Talk TV. There's been a lot of talk in the media recently about whether neck guards should be mandatory at all levels of hockey. I think that's a red herring. A neck guard would not have prevented the situation that we're going to talk about today. Neck guards are probably a good idea. I always wore one when I played hockey. Maybe they should be mandatory, but the incident of Adam Johnson and his death at the hands, or the foot, as it were, of Matt Petgrave really doesn't have anything to do with neck guards. Now, I've said at the hands of Matt Petgrave, that's one of the questions we're going to look at, is from a legal perspective, might this be a culpable homicide? So first, we're going to look at just some of the basic facts of the case and some opinions of a few people who know more about hockey than I do as to whether this looks like it was on purpose or not. We'll then look at the Canadian laws. This happened in Britain, but we'll look at Canadian laws since that's what I'm familiar with and what I think he could and perhaps should have been charged with if this happened in Canada. But then we'll thirdly look at why, in my view, Matt Petgrave will never be charged. So we'll start with some of the basic data or information facts on this case, looking at an AP article titled, "American Hockey Player Adam Johnson Dies After Getting Cut in the Neck by a Skate in England." This article just gives some of the very basic facts that are undisputed. American hockey player Adam Johnson, who appeared in 13 NHL games with the Pittsburgh Penguins, has died after his neck was cut by a skate during a game in England on Saturday, that being the 28th of October. He was playing for the Nottingham Panthers in a Challenge Cup game against the Sheffield Steelers when he suffered a skate cut during the second period of the elite ice hockey game at Sheffield's Utilita Arena. Now let's take a look at the video, and just a warning to viewers, this is some very graphic footage, so you may want to skip that if you think that you'd be disturbed by that, but unfortunately we have to look at it because what actually happened, the evidence, is always what's most important, not our emotional response to horrible events. So this video here, you can see he lifts the leg there, and poor Mr. Johnson goes right down. It's pretty gross. You can see all the blood on the ice. His neck was clearly cut. But let's just look at this back here a little bit more slowly at what happens. So you see they're coming along here, and notice like no one hits him. There's a bit of contact with one of the white jersey players. So you can see this is Matt Petgrave right here. There's a bit of contact with this individual, but it doesn't make any sense to me how his leg comes up. You see, look at that left leg just flies up. Right here, there's the left leg flies up like that and catches Adam Johnson in the neck right there. I don't see anything about, it's hard to tell whether there even is contact. I mean, look at that. Now, I played hockey a fair bit in my youth. I didn't play at a high level. I'm not trying to pretend I'm some big expert in hockey. I just played community club hockey, intramural hockey at university, some casual adult leagues. But based on my experience, I've never seen anyone's leg go up like that. People are saying, well, maybe he caught an edge. I mean, people catch edges all the time. I still haven't seen that happen. Now, some NHL players have weighed in on this, and they have way more experience and knowledge than I do, so I'm going to look at what they had to say. So I've got this article from Newsweek, NHL Stars who have spoken out about Matt Petgrave's kick on Adam Johnson. So let's look at who we've got here. So Sean Avery, I mean, if anyone knows a thing or two about dirty play in hockey, it's Sean Avery. For those who don't know him, he is a notorious player. He played for a number of teams. I think he ended with the New York Rangers. So he says he thinks homicide is a pretty dangerous word to be throwing around, but here, I think this is the key here. He says, I've watched it, it's terrible, it's tough to watch. Did this kid make a move that was very unorthodox? Do I think he was trying to make contact of some sort? Absolutely. Do I think he woke up and said, I'm going to murder someone today? No. But I think this is the key here. Mr. Avery is of the view that that lifting of the leg was intentional, and that'll be important later when we look at the law. Chris Terrian, former defenseman, says, after seeing the incident involving Adam Johnson, that Bush League needs to shut down for an investigation immediately. Here's the key here. It looked intentional. It was a kung fu kick. My eyes are not lying. Tell me I'm wrong. Weston Michaud, Johnson's teammate on the Panthers, says, I need to address something about the accident. We wholeheartedly stand with Matt Petgrave. The hate Matt is receiving is terrible and completely uncalled for. So he's saying that it was an unintentional clip of his leg by a Sheffield player caused the somersault. It's clear to him his actions were unintentional. So there's a dissenting opinion, and then Scott Lawton makes kind of a non-comment. We have two former NHL players saying it looked completely intentional, one saying he thinks it was a fluke accident, and one not really saying anything, just talking about neck guards. But Mr. Avery, Mr. Terrian, their view matches up with my observation, my experiences. It looks like he was intending to make contact. There doesn't seem to be any evidence that he was trying to kill anyone. But let's see, Matt Petgrave has used this tactic in the past. So that's why that further solidifies me in thinking that he intended to make contact. And I think he intended something like this past incident to be the result, not a death. So we've got this article from the Daily Mail online titled, Adam Johnson Fallout Continues. Decade-old video appears to show Matt Petgrave doing the same maneuver that resulted in on-ice fatality on Saturday in England. So they've got this video that surfaced here. They've got a good summary of it here. So it'll replay a few times. You can see Matt Petgrave there. You see his leg flying out. Boom, right there. And his leg catches this player in the white, and he goes flying down. So I think this is what Matt Petgrave was trying to do here. He didn't intend his skate to go up that high. He was intending to take out Mr. Johnson the way he took out this player here. Now, we always have to be careful with prior discreditable conduct. The fact that Mr. Petgrave apparently has a record for emotional outbursts. He'd been kicked out of a number of games in the season leading up to this incident. I think that is more or less irrelevant from a legal perspective. But this leg lifting maneuver, that is what we call similar fact evidence, and that can be admissible. And I think that's a very important consideration, not to show that he's a person of bad character, but to show that he's a person who has used this tactic before. This is part of his repertoire. It's something almost of a signature, and therefore it's important in assessing what was his intention. Was this totally accidental, or did he intend to make contact? And I think this supports Mr. Avery and Mr. Terrian saying that it was intentional contact. So now, what does the law say about a situation like that, at least in Canada? I'm looking here at the criminal code, at the sections for murder, manslaughter, and infanticide. We've got here section 229. Culpable homicide is murder, A, where the person who causes the death of a human being, 1, means to cause his death, or 2, means to cause him bodily harm that he knows is likely to cause his death and is reckless whether death ensues or not. Now, C, I think, is important. If a person for an unlawful object does anything that they know is likely to cause death, and by doing so causes the death of a human being, even if they desire to affect their object without causing death or bodily harm to any human being. I think this is the key section right here, because an unlawful object does not have to be a crime. There is case law suggesting that it doesn't have to be a crime in and of itself. I think that's what we have here. We have an unlawful object. We have an attempt to make contact outside the rules of hockey, outside of what is consented to. It's an unlawful object, and it resulted in someone's death. And I would suggest that one could reasonably foresee death raising up a skate blade like that in the air. Now, again, I don't think Mr. Petgrave intended to kill anyone. I think he intended to just knock Mr. Johnson over, but in law, he has to live with the consequences of his actions. I would say it's objectively foreseeable here. Not first-degree murder by any means, maybe not even second-degree murder, probably manslaughter, or it may be criminal negligence causing death. But in my view, he should be charged. However, he will not be charged, in my view, and here's why. He will not be charged because, first of all, the media and the teams and everyone, they've already gotten out ahead of this with saying this is a fluke accident. But moreover, it's frankly, in my view, because Mr. Petgrave is an African Canadian or African American hockey player, and so it'll be racism if he's charged. And that's the narrative that the media is portraying, and we see it also in alternate media or on Twitter and things like that. So let's just look at a few examples. We've got an article from The Sun here titled "Sick Abuse, Adam Johnson Death. Cruel Trolls Bombard Ice Hockey Star Matt Petgrave with Hate Mail After Tragedy on Ice." From the Daily Mail, ice hockey player who accidentally killed opponent Adam Johnson with his boot blade is absolutely distraught and has been receiving vile messages from trolls on social media. We see here from Twitter just a selection here. The racism toward Matt Petgrave is sickening. From someone called The Winner. Let's call Matt Petgrave accusations what they are, racism. Someone, Michael Owens here. Matt Petgrave, the black hockey player involved in the freak accident that killed a white player, has become a target for racist tweets. And then another tweet here. I mean, I don't know who these people are, but it's indicative of the narrative that we see. It says, Matt Petgrave's situation is only a reminder of how pervasive racism is in the hockey community. This isn't new, just the most egregious example of it. So that's why he won't be charged. No one wants to be called racist. Absolutely in Britain, they're not going to want to touch that racism situation with a 10-foot pole. So he's not going to be charged in my view. I think he should be, and that has absolutely nothing to do with the color of his skin. It's 100% for the reasons I've shown, the evidence. And you'll see what I've reviewed, no mention of the color of his skin. It's over his actions and the law applied to those actions. But we live in 2023. This is the way things go. My prediction is he'll never be charged. This video, of course, is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, you can call another lawyer or myself. Contact information is below. We welcome suggestions on show topics. We'll try to get to them as soon as we can. You can leave comments in the comment section or send an email to the address listed below. And if you found this video at all interesting, helpful, or informative, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, following us on social media, following us or subscribing on YouTube, especially if we reach 10,000 subscribers before the end of 2023. We've got just about a little under 2 months left. I will regrow my handlebar mustache.